Okay, welcome everybody to Call of Cthulhu. My name is Alan Carey and I run a creative business here in Melbourne. We build in-world artifacts and immersive props for the Chaosium game Call of Cthulhu. We've also recently started writing short scenarios, of which the Mummy of Pemberley Grange is one. And we'll be running that today for you all at the Melbourne Games Week. Thanks very much for watching. Without further ado, you have all been invited to a mummy unwrapping party by Jessica Pemberley. Jessica Pemberley is a rich socialite and Egyptophile. She's shipped a mummy all the way from Cairo to her self-named manor in the country, Pemberley Grange. You have all arrived that afternoon and are currently sipping champagne and eating canapes in the well-stocked, well-appointed library. Jessica sits at her desk and she's writing in her diary, making some final notes as you all mingle and talk to each other and have a look around the library and sip the champagne. Mason, the butler, dourly stands in the library with you, holding a silver platter with champagne flutes on it, offering them to you one at a time. So with that done, what I'll get you to do is just introduce your characters one at a time, just tell us who they are, a little bit about them, and we'll start with Farouk Bassar because you're at the top of my list. So
Sure.
Farouk, please introduce yourself.
My name is Professor Farouk Bassar. I'm an archaeologist born in Egypt.
That's very good, Farouk. Thank you very much. And next we've got Gertrude Howard.
I'm Gertrude Howard. I'm a society lady of the Boston House, of course, and I'm very pleased to be here. You know, Jessica, she needs an introduction into society, and I think I'd like to take her under my wing. She's new money, you know, but that can be forgiven.
That's fantastic. So next on the list, Rupert Bevan.
So Rupert Bevan, the shrewd and sometimes ruthless businessman.
Nice. And last but certainly not least, Lucy Dowling.
Lucy Dowling, I'm a reporter. I don't miss much, and I think this might be my next big scoop.
Absolutely. So as you mingle within the library and Jessica sits at her desk writing in her diary, I would like you all to make spot hidden rolls, please.
Ooh,
Normal success.
that which is hidden remains so.
Extreme, I see everything.
Extreme success for
Nope.
Noel.
Oh, and we're going to do luck.
Yeah, you've got 15 luck to spend, and you've all got a luck score of 50.
Cool.
If I ask for luck rolls. So you extreme success for you, and was it Lucy that got the other pass?
No.
Gertrude,
Gertrude.
normal success.
Okay, so you're mingling, you're having a look around the library. Rupert, you notice Jessica's writing in her diary. She closes the diary and stands up and she claps her hands and says, "It's jolly good to see you all. As you know, I'm Jessica Pemberley and this is Pemberley Grange. Thank you very much for coming." You notice, Rupert, inside her diary, there is a letter. As she closes the diary, she tucks it in what looks to be the page that she's just been writing on. And because of your keen eyes and your excellent role of an extreme, you can see it is addressed to her. It has been opened and it has a postmark of Cairo on it. But she continues and says, I'm jolly pleased to see you all here. It's very, very, very exciting. Thank you very much for coming. She turns to Gertrude and says, "Of course, Gertrude, the society is always welcome at Pemberley Grange, and I do hope this is the first engagement of many that we will host for you and your ladies. However, of course, there'll be no charge for the society. Pemberley Grange is just here for the betterment of the community. That said, however, Mr. Bevan," she says, turning to you and giving you a knowing look, "there are some good business opportunities in Cairo these days. I have made some excellent contacts recently, which is how it came about that there's a mummy on the table in the reception room, but more of that later. please let me just finish writing in my diary, and you have a drink, have a chat, look at the books, have a wander round. I'm sure Professor Hewitt will be here presently to do the unwrapping. So with that done, she sits back down, opens her diary, continues to pen something. What would you all like to do?
I will walk over to Jessica and I will say, thank you very much for inviting me to such an exciting event. I'm very much looking forward to the whole proceedings of this. Very, very appropriate of you to invite me, as I am definitely one of the foremost people in the field, and I do appreciate you acknowledging that.
Oh, Mr. Bizarre, she says.
Sorry, I was just going to say, while they're talking, I was just going to have a look at what she's writing in her diary.
Okay,
just over her shoulder.
Please make a spot hidden roll for me. Oh, Mr. Bizarre, she says, it's so good of you to come. Professor Hewitt, of course, will do the unwrapping, but I thought it was best to have somebody else here. Please make a credit rating roll, Farouk.
Mm-hmm.
How was your spot hidden, Lucy?
That was a hard
success.
Oh, extreme.
Extreme. So we'll come back to both of those in a second. Meanwhile, what are Bevan and Gertrude doing?
Gertrude's going to wander around the library looking at the sort of furniture and the way that the room's been outfitted, do a bit of appraise and evaluate where's all this come from.
Okay. Please make credit rating or appraise roll. And Bevan?
I'd like to have a look through the books in the library, see if there's anything of particular interest.
Okay, Bevan, I'll take either a spot hidden or a library use, your choice.
Same. So let's go library use. Success, regular.
Okay, regular success. And Farouk, you got a really good credit rating roll there, didn't you? Okay, so she mentions Professor Hewitt. You know of Professor Hewitt. You don't know him personally, nor have you ever met him. He is an eminent archaeologist. He's not been seen in academic circles for over 5 years, having immersed himself recently in Egyptian culture and fieldwork. Lucy, what was your success level?
It was a hard
success. As she closes the diary once more, it would appear that she's just been writing about how excited she is to have Lucy Dowling from the Lancaster Express here to report on the mummy unwrapping party, and that she does hope she makes a good impression on Gertrude Howard. So it would appear that she's just writing some details about the coming events.
Sorry, Alan, what was the professor's name, or the...
Professor Jonathan Hewitt.
Jonathan Hewitt.
With
Great.
2 T's.
Great.
He's a 2T Hewitt.
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 Okay.
He is.
I'll say to Jessica, and it's interesting that you've chosen Jonathan Hewitt to conduct the proceedings tonight. He has been out of academic circles for quite a while.
Oh well, sometimes it's best for those that are in the field to make these things happen. Would you not say, Mr. Bizarre?
Oh, indeed. Are you saying that perhaps he hasn't been in academia because he's been out getting his hands dirty?
Well, that's the impression I got through my communiques with him. Although I don't know him personally, I was put in touch with him by a good friend of mine in Cairo.
Oh.
Now, Gertrude, how was your credit rating? Hard
credit rating.
Okay. So you peruse the well-appointed library. She has Georgian sideboards, a well-stocked shelves. She's at a mahogany desk. Everything is money, but you got hard.
Yep.
It is all new money. Where she got it from, you don't know, but it's new money. Now, whether that suits the society or not is very much up to you. In fact, you would imagine that the place has been recently outfitted. You're looking across the shelves and the books. And Bevan, you did a library use roll?
Yes.
How did that go?
Regular success.
Regular success. So you end up bumping shoulders with Gertrude as you're looking through all the books on the library shelves. And you both come to the conclusion that it's been really well stocked fairly recently, maybe in the last 12 months. And the majority of the books have never been taken off the shelf after they've been put on. However, there is one particular section which looks like it's been referenced regularly, and that is the Egyptology section, which is expansive. She's got a lot of books on Egyptology, and there are even some books on the sideboard next to the shelving units that she's taken off and put down and left in little stacks.
Can I have another look at the books that are stacked up on the side?
Yeah, okay, so you start going through those. Bevan?
Can I see if I can identify which, if there's any specific books on the shelves that have been taken off more regularly than others?
Yeah, so you could probably have a library use roll. Successful library use roll would give you better results, or you could just have a browse through with a spot hidden.
Yep, I'll go for a spot hidden, I think.
Okay.
Can I just have a look around the room in general, just to sort of see what's on the walls, what's interesting in here?
Yeah, okay. So you peruse the library. Just to the north of the library, there are a set of sliding glass opaque doors. It looks like they lead through into a parlour. In fact, the floor plan, which sits framed above Jessica's desk just behind her, indicates that that's where the parlour is. The library is quite large. Just to the south of the library, there's the marbled corridor through which you know is the entrance hall that you came in. The champagne on the sideboard in the champagne flutes and the champagne glasses, canapes have been laid out. And other than that, there's some very nice pictures of the local area which have been drawn and hung on the walls as well. So
could I have a closer look at the map of the house?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Grab myself a glass of champagne and go and look at the map.
Okay. You can have a spot hidden roll if you want.
Spot hidden. Just a regular success.
It looks like it's an original blueprint from when the house was first built in the 1700s. Now, we've got Bevan looking at books, Gertrude looking at a stack of books. What's Farouk do while he's just chatting with Jessica?
Definitely just trying to get and hold her attention and try and, espouse his own ego, basically.
She's very happy to speak to you.
Yeah.
It does irk you somewhat that she keeps calling you Mr. Bassar and not Professor Bassar, but that's fine. And she's quite happy to discuss the mummy and the event. She enthuses about the fact that her friend put her in touch with somebody. And you wouldn't believe it, but I found out through a hobby of mine, she says, genealogy. You know what that is, of course.
Of course.
I delved as deep as I could into my family history, and would you believe it, I have connections to Egypt. So my friend over in Cairo put me in touch with a group who put me in touch with Professor Hewitt, and well, here we are.
And there you go. Indeed. Well, we'll have to discuss that further later on tonight.
Oh, of course, of course. I'm sure Professor Hewitt will be here soon. Mason, could you check the door, please? Yes, ma'am, he says. I'll check the door immediately. Knowing full well that they have a doorbell, it would have gone off by now. Bevan.
No good on the roll.
No good on the roll. So there are an expansive range of books on Egyptology. They're everything that you would expect. There are some common texts here. There are lots of reference books and academia books. There's nothing immediately stands out that she's been looking at. However, Gertrude was looking at a pile of books, weren't you?
Yeah, the books on the sideboard.
Yeah, okay. So you pick them up one by one, flick through them, and you are seeing books on Egyptian religion. You're looking at books on canopic jars and mummies, the kind of things that you might expect a person who is into Egyptology to look at were they going to have an Egyptian mummy unwrapping party. You also find one that is not really to do with Egyptology at all, and it looks a lot older than the other books. It's leather bound, and opening it, you notice that. Do you speak any German?
I do speak German, quite well actually.
In that case, how well?
Do you want me to roll?
No, just tell me what your
36.
skill is. 36. Okay, yeah. So that's not fluent enough just to be able to pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just make a roll.
Oh, no, in fact, 95, perhaps 30.
Okay.
Getting to me.
So you know it's German, you know it looks old, and flicking through it, it's got, you have an education roll.
Yeah, normal.
Normal. It looks like an old medical textbook of some sort. It's got pictures of a skeleton and some other things, but you're flicking through some much more macabre things like bodies hanging in gibbets with people holding wooden cups, what look like cups underneath their bleeding body, and you soon close that because you don't know what's in there, and you can't really read it. It's in German now.
Is there any occult symbology on that?
Do you have any occult skills?
I have 60 in occult.
Yeah, you can have a roll in your occult.
That is a hard success.
No, there's no occult symbology in the book. It looks much more like a very old book, one of those old scientific notebooks, which is out like when people used to believe that the soul resided in the blood of humans and that you had to balance the humors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's not an occult book. It's much more like an old textbook.
Yeah.
In German. So Farouk, you're engaging Jessica in some conversation. Bevan is trying to determine what kind of books are on the shelves. Gertrude is flicking through some of the books that have been recently read. And Lucy is having a look around the room and at the map of Pemberley Grange. Is there anything else you would like to do as Mason leaves the room and Jessica continues to talk to Basar?
I might interrupt that conversation and just say, what an adorable house you have. Is it a family house?
Well, Miss Dowling, she says, there's a story there, you see.
Oh, do tell.
She looks at you expectantly, and then as soon as the notebook comes out, she beams. Because this is exactly the kind of attention she's been hoping for. And it's at that point, as she's just about to tell you the story of Pemberley Grange, that the doorbell rings. Ding dong. And she stands up. Oh my goodness, I do believe Professor Hewitt might be here. Putting Farouk Basar's nose out even more because she called him Professor and not Mr. And she says, oh, please, everybody, champagne. Let's retire to the reception room.
I will do.
My champagne?
And she begins to usher you all out of the library with your champagne in hand into the marbled corridor which leads down towards the reception room. And as you walk out, you can see Mason at the front door in the hallway, answering the door to a thin man in an ill-fitting tweed jacket carrying a doctor's bag. Make listen rolls, please.
Oh. Hard success.
Just a normal success.
For those that make it, you hear Mason greet the professor, and then the professor offer his name. My name's Professor Hewitt. So he identifies himself to Mason as Professor Hewitt. And Mason says, please come in, sir. This way, the reception room. And you all walk past and hear that. If you didn't hear that, you're too busy listening to Jessica enthuse about the oncoming extravaganza. that is about to happen in the reception room, which is where she leads you to. The reception room is not as big as the library, but it is well appointed and large. There is an Egyptian sarcophagus which stands upright against one wall, overlooking the room. On one of the sideboards, there are four canopic jars, which you, Farouk, know will probably contain the mummified organs of the mummy. A roaring fire sits against one wall. The curtains have been drawn. Candles have been lit to give some shadowy ambience. There's more champagne on the sideboard. And on the large mahogany table, lay out with its arms crossed and wrapped in bandages, is the Mummy of Pemberley Grange. And Jessica positions herself behind it, raises a glass and says, "Welcome everybody to Pemberley Grange's first," she's obviously had a little bit too much, "welcome to Pemberley Grange's first event of the year," she says. "May there be many, many more."
I'll pull out my camera and take a photo.
She says, "Oh, jolly good. Well, everybody gather round. Another photo, Miss Dowling, please. Gertrude,
Of course.
Gertrude. You stand here, Gertrude, and Mr. Bevan, you just stand here, and Farouk, you just stand next to Mr. Bevan. Everybody, is this good? Is this where you want us, Miss Dowling?"
Yes, perfect. Get you framed well.
Everybody, cheers, everybody. Everybody say, "Mummy."
Mummy.
Delightful.
And she says, "Miss Dowling, perhaps one more for the front page. Everybody put your hands on the mummy," she says. And she places her...
Gertrude is definitely not touching a dirty mummy.
And she places her hands on the crossed arms of the mummy.
Yeah, I'm like gonna hover hand it.
Yeah, yeah, definite hover hand.
Yeah, hover hand. Just.
She doesn't.
Everyone say Egypt.
Egypt, she says.
Egypt.
She doesn't seem to notice the hover hands, nor does she seem to mind. Because it's at that point that Professor Hewitt is led into the reception room by Mason. Hewitt moves over towards a sideboard and begins to diligently pull out some tools from his doctor's bag. A set of forceps, maybe some small scissors and a little scalpel. The sort of thing you might expect somebody that's going to unwrap a mummy would have with them. And while that's happening and Jessica goes over to say hello to him, what would you all like to do?
I will do an inspection of the mummy, like have a look at its condition and any sort of aspects of it. Basically, go over it with my archaeology expertise.
Archaeology roll for you, and we'll come back to that when you've got a result.
Yep.
What's everyone else doing?
Look at the canopic jars.
Okay. So Gertrude, you go to look at the canopic jars, and you're having a look at those. What do you want to look at?
What's the material? What symbols on them, carvings? Are there?
If you've got appraise, you can have an appraise roll. If you've got any Egyptology or archaeology, that's fine. Or you can make probably a hard education roll. Rupert?
Just want to have a bit of a general look around the room, see what else is in here.
Okay, all right. So you're having a look around. I'll come to you in a second. And Dowling, what are you doing while this is all happening?
I'll go introduce myself to Professor Hewitt, tell him that I work for the Lancaster staff, and ask him if he's done many of these unwrapping ceremonies before, and what can we expect from this one.
Okay, so you go and introduce yourself to... Jessica's quite happy for you to butt in, and she gently turns away and goes over towards Gertrude, who's overlooking at the canopic jars, because Gertrude's obviously her favourite. And you speak to the professor. Hewitt he's got some tools laid out on the sideboard. His doctor's bag is open, and he stands there. And as you stand next to him, he doesn't really stop doing what he's doing. What do you say?
if he's done many of these unwrapping ceremonies before, and what can we expect from this one?
So his head turns to you, and he says, "Good day," in a thin voice, thinner than him himself. And he does that thing where his head turns to kind of acknowledge you, but his shoulders and feet stay pointing in one direction, and he's obviously being polite. You can have a psychology roll.
Just I'm going to spend some luck and make that a hard.
Okay. So he says to you, well, mummy unwrapping things are rather a new fashion, he says, and not one that's swept through academia, if one is honest. However, Miss Pemberley was insistent, and of course, here we are. You get the impression that there's an amount of distaste in his reply that he's politely masking with social mores. And it's hard success, yeah?
So, you disapprove of this sort of?
No. I wouldn't say disapprove, he says, still taking his tools out.
Just feel it could be done in a more academic setting.
Well,
as opposed to society.
Really? What's to be learned, really, he says. If you don't mind,
of course, please.
Prepare myself. And then he turns back to his duties. Bevan, you are appointing yourself with what's in the room: large mahogany table, ancient corpse of a mummy, a old worn sarcophagus standing on the side wall, which looks like it once contained the mummy. Gertrude having a look at the canopic jars, a large roaring fire, wood panelled walls, drawn curtains, a couple of doors which lead out of the reception room, which are not the one that you came in, that you imagine probably lead over towards the bathrooms. And that's really about it. Mason walks over and says, Mr. Bevan, would you care for a champagne?
Yes, I think I shall.
Certainly, sir, and he offers you one.
I got an extreme on that archaeology roll.
You know that this is the real deal. This is a real mummy from probably the Second Age. It's old, ancient, and it looks. There are fakes going around, believe it or not. This is not a fake. You would imagine, having glanced at it and the sarcophagus, that it is probably the sarcophagus has some cartouches and hieroglyphics on that that relate to the Egyptian goddess Renpet, who was a goddess of eternity, fertility, spring, and youth. It's quite possible that this mummy could have been from the Second Age and the height of the worship of Renpet, somebody of import.
Yeah.
And if indeed, as Jessica says, she's paid good money for this to be shipped over from Cairo, and she has paid a lot of money, then it could be an important archaeological find which you're about to unwrap. Now, Gertrude.
I did not get a very good roll on my appraise, so I guess I'm just stuck talking to Jessica.
Okay, so Jessica says, jolly good, very, very nice to see you, Mrs. Howard. I do apologise for all the theatrics, but I want the paper to have a good impression of Pemberley Grange, but more importantly, I would like you to have a good impression of Pemberley Grange.
Well, so far everything seems delightful, and I'm sure theatrics have their place.
I'm sure they do, but for society ladies such as ourselves, the good of the community is much more important. However, there was no expense spared. She turns her head to Bevan as she says it, way louder than she really has to, in the bringing of the mummy here.
I think it's a little early in the day for speaking of money. Perhaps you could tell me about your travels instead, Miss Pemberley.
Oh, my travels are limited. I've spent some time in Great Britain, she says. However, I've come back home now, and here we are at Pemberley Grange.
And will you be returning to Egypt?
Oh no, I've never been to Egypt, Mrs. Howard. I've simply corresponded with some friends and Mr. Hewitt.
Well, you certainly made excellent preparations. Your books are quite extensive on the subject.
It's an interest and a hobby, yes, of course. The books are easy to come by since the explosion of Egyptology here, and fashionable, of course. But most of the preparations were made by Professor Hewitt.
How very kind of him.
At which point Professor Hewitt himself turns and proclaims that he's ready to begin. Jessica claps, takes up another champagne and says, shall we? And then she stands with Gertrude to watch the proceedings. Where would everybody else like to watch from?
I'll make sure that I've got a good sort of angle of everyone so I can take photos.
Mm-hmm.
I'll
So maybe in the
stand
corner.
opposite to wherever Jonathan Hewitt is doing things, so I'm facing towards him and he's facing towards me.
Yeah.
I think I want to make sure I've got a good angle to be out of Miss Dowling's photos.
Okay. And Gertrude, are you sticking with
I'll
Jessica?
stay with Jessica.
Okay, so you stick. So Jessica and you stick by the sideboard, and Bevan kind of just hangs around out of the way. Mason dutifully also stands out of the way, and Dowling circles the room taking photos of the proceedings under the close watchful eye of Professor Farouk Sarr. Hewitt begins to unwrap the mummy. And as he begins unwrapping the mummy, leaves the head and the face until last. And when at last he removes the face wrapping, the visage revealed is that of a desiccated Jessica Pemberley. Please make sanity rolls.
Wow.
I'm totally fine.
Oh, 95.
94.
Sorry, it was 96.
I mean, this is weird, but I'm all right.
This is totally fine. So if you passed your sanity, just lose 1 point of sanity. Dowling, you lose 2 points of sanity, and Farouk, 1 point of sanity. Gertrude proclaims that if this is a joke, then it's in poor taste. But as you turn towards Jessica, she's raised her hands to her face in shock. And as Hewitt reveals the mummy's face, he draws from beneath his ill-fitting tweed jacket a large, curved-bladed dagger, and he plunges it deep into his chest. Blood pours out of his chest over the mummy's face and over its shoulders, and he screams at the top of his voice, "The curse of 1,000 years is upon you all. You shall die, and she shall live again." He pulls the dagger out and lunges at Farouk.
Whoa.
How would you like to respond?
I would like to try and avoid getting stabbed.
You can take a dodge roll if you want.
Yes, okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, he lunges over the mummy, blood pouring out of his chest all over the mummy's face. His eyes have rolled back, blood's coming out of his mouth, and he's got the dagger dripping blood as he lunges over it.
Yeah, no, that is a fail.
Okay, so now as he lunges, he tries to stab you. He's got a disadvantage because he's bleeding to death. I think that's fair. And he misses you. He stumbles over onto the floor, and on one knee and one hand, holding the dagger up, the blood dripping down his arm and off onto the carpet, his chest wound just dripping blood out onto the Persian rug. That's ruined. He just gurgled words through his pain. Now, Jessica yelps. Mason fusses. Oh, what would you all like to do? We will go in Dex order with Lucy first. Make another sanity roll for the horrific stabbing.
This one I passed. Comparatively fine.
I got all excited.
This is fine.
This part's fine, yeah.
Shocked by the blood.
Just lose one san if you've passed.
If you passed?
Yeah, if you pass, just lose one san. It's more the Persian rug that is ruined that's a bother.
No!
Okay, so Dowling, what would you like to do?
Yes, I'm going to try and grab Jessica and say, let's get out of here, and try and lead her back into the drawing room? The study, sorry, back into the study.
She's shocked and has gone pale. And it's like, oh my goodness, Miss Dowling. And she grips hold of your arm like a woman possessed. And you lead her, you march her out of the reception room into the marbled corridor.
I'll say, where are your books on Egyptian curses?
Good gosh, she says. Mason fusses and says, Miss Pemberley. And then we'll go to Farouk.
Wow. Okay, so is Jonathan still alive?
He is, yeah. He's bleeding badly. He's on one knee and one hand. He's
still
clutching the
trying
dagger.
to stab me. Is he still trying to do that?
He's not trying to stab you. He's mostly trying to stay alive at this point. But he's clutching the dagger and gurgling something through his as best he can.
Right. I'm going to try and kick the dagger out of his hand and get it away from him, and then try and, do first aid.
Okay.
If that's possible. But yeah.
Please make a brawl roll. Roll. If you don't fumble, it's fine.
Where's fighting brawl. There we go. Not just brawl. Okay. Success.
Okay, that's great. So, Farouk, you step over and in a swift and easy motion, kick his wrist. The knife flies out of his hand, skids across the carpet and goes under the sideboard.
Great.
Gertrude, what would you like to do?
I will help administer first aid to Professor Hewitt.
Okay, so you go over. Hewitt has dropped, no longer on one hand and one knee, has dropped down to the floor. His eyes are rolling. He's gone pale. There's blood everywhere. Yep. Please do your first aid roll.
Yep. Oh, that's a fail. Oops.
Okay, not fumble though.
No.
Okay, there does not appear to be anything that you can do for the poor man. Mm-hmm. Rupert.
I'll have a look at the mummy on the table. Does it still look like Jessica?
Well, there was a flash of Jessica's face when he stabbed himself. The blood coats its face and its shoulders, and it is pooling around it underneath on the mahogany table. It's cascading off the mahogany table down onto the Persian rug, which it's ruined. But it no longer looks like Jessica Pemberley.
It's just ruining the value of the mummy, though.
It is ruining the value of the mummy. Absolutely ruining the value of the mummy. So, it's at this point that outside, Jessica faints in your arms, Dowling. Oh! Says something about the letter. It was right. Mason helps you catch her as she faints. And you all feel a cold wind blow through Pemberley Grange where there is no wind. An icy grip grabs you, your chest feels tight, you can feel the blood rushing around your body and your head begins to pound. A wave of nausea washes over you and you all immediately lose 10 points of power.
Ooh.
And if you could note that on your screen so I can see as well, that would be great.
Done.
Thank you. You have to steady yourself on a chair or a table or the wall or somebody else. You almost let go of Jessica Dowling, but Mason is there to help. It would appear that Jessica has fainted out. Mason obviously has felt this as well and looks at you. What do you want to do?
What letter? What letter is she talking about?
I couldn't say, Miss Dowling. Please help me get her to the parlour.
All right. Yes, of course. I'll lay her out on the couch and I'll start looking around her study desk for a letter.
Do I hear what they're talking about?
Yeah, they're actually out of the room now, so you would have to make a listen roll.
I'll give it a go. No.
No, okay. So you're probably also a little bit in shock from what's happened. But Dowling, with Mason's help, you take Jessica down the corridor, into the library, through the library, and into the parlour where you lay her out on the chaise longue. And that takes a few moments. So we'll just deal with everybody else while you're dealing with that. You know, that's going to take several minutes before you can go and look at her desk. So you lay her out, and Mason says, I shall fetch some smelling salts from the kitchen.
Yes, do.
And leaves you with her.
Gertrude's going to yell out, Brandy man!
Yeah, of course, Mrs. Howard, brandy smelling salts. I will bring them in forthwith. So while Dowling's helping do that, you're all back in the reception room. Hewitt's body's in a pool of blood on the floor. The fire rate roars. The mummy's face is covered in blood and is on the table. What do you do?
Yeah, I will continue trying to staunch the flow of blood coming out of Jonathan.
All right, with the two of you doing first aid now,
Mm-hmm.
one of you can have a bonus. Choose who's going to make the roll, and one of you.
What's your skill, Gertrude?
45.
Yeah, I'll do support then.
Okay.
I'll wander over to the two of them while they're doing that and just ask: Is he still with us, or is he
It's
gone?
not looking good. Sorry,
Okay.
Gertrude. What was that?
Sorry, hard success on the first aid.
Gertrude does her best to stop the blood from flowing out of him and save his life, but it is not enough, and he breathes his last breath as you ask how he is, Bevan.
Oh. I'll look dramatically at him and shake my head.
I'm going to lie him down, and if there's a tablecloth or something around, I'm going to put it over him. Grab a tablecloth.
Yeah.
Put it over his body, and then I will probably try and clean my hands up and go and get some brandy.
Okay, so tablecloth over the body of Hewitt. What are Farouk and Bevan doing?
I'm going to try and find that knife that skidded away and see if... Yeah. And
Right, so you get down on your hands and knees, and you can see it underneath the the sideboard. So you're reaching through, you grab hold and you pull it out. It's covered in blood. You've got it in your hand.
Great. Can I do an appraise on that one?
Yeah.
Or, yeah, just an appraise, I guess.
Yeah.
No, that's a fail.
So you're holding this curved, large dagger, blood all over it. The blood's now on your hand and running down your forearm. Bevan?
Professor Bassard, is there any reason why you think he's done this?
Well, he seems to believe that he could put a curse on us. That's, like he said, the curse of 1,000 years is upon you.
Anybody got a occult skill?
Oh, yes.
You can have an occult roll if you've got an occult skill.
I have an occult skill. It is not amazing, though. And with that roll, I don't recognize it.
So as Farouk mentions this, Gertrude, and Hewitt passes away in your arms, what he said and what happened with the killing himself, spilling the blood, the words that he said, it has all of the hallmarks of a curse, a classic curse that you have heard written about coming out of Egypt over the last few years. There's all kinds of mystery surrounding such things, and it does sound like that all of the components for a curse are present.
I haven't really heard that. I'm going to go and inspect the mummy. I want to know if there's any like amulets on it, any kind of mystical things, or potentially cursed items, or items that could be linked with the curse.
And as that happens, Mason comes into the reception room and says, my gosh, could somebody possibly help? Miss Pemberley's fainted in the parlour. Miss Dowling is with her, but I'm not sure she can. I'm going to the kitchen to get brandy and some smelling salts. Does anybody know how to bring her round? Could you please help? Oh gosh! And he looks in such a terrible state.
I will put the knife down first. And it's an ancient apology. No, yeah, I'll put the knife down and I will follow. I'll say Mason smelling salt sounds like probably the best. I'll help you, and I'll go into the kitchen with him.
Okay, so he's in the reception, and then when Bassar decides to follow him, he leaves with Bassar to go to the kitchen. Bevan and Howard, what are you two doing?
So I'm looking at the mummy?
Yeah, and Bevan?
I'll head back into the room where Jessica is and see if there's anything I can do to help. Okay.
So you go back out of the reception off towards the library and walk towards the parlour where Dowling is. And Dowling, what are you doing while this is all happening?
Once Jessica's fine on the couch, I wanted to head back into the library area and start looking for a letter. And if I see Bevan on the way, be like, she said something about a letter. Have you seen a letter?
Okay, so Bevan...
Sorry, yeah, there's a letter in her diary.
And I'll run straight up and pick up a diary.
So the diary sits on the desk, just where you saw it earlier, Bevan. And Lucy, you open it to the last page that she's made some entries in, and rightly enough, there is a letter. It's addressed to Jessica Pemberley at Pemberley Grange, and it's got a postmark on it, which has Cairo, and it has been opened.
I will pull out the letter and read it.
You pull out the letter, you open it up, and the letter says, "For your protection, HC," and then it has some script in a language you might not know. Make an education roll. You can have one too, Bevan, you're there.
Cool. Hard.
Hard.
Just a normal success.
Normal. You both know that it looks like it's written in Arabic. Do either of you read Arabic? No.
No, but there's one amongst us who might.
German.
So the letter sits in her diary, and
I will call out for Farouk.
Okay, Farouk can have a listen roll.
No.
No. So you don't hear Lucy Dowling calling out for you as you walk off with Mason toward the kitchen. Left alone with the mummy, Gertrude, you were examining it. It is soaked in blood. Its head and shoulders and the table is starting to drip off and pool.
Delightful. That is really stained. Is there anything on it? Any kind of medallions or signet rings or any kind of anything symbolic on it?
Please make a spot hidden roll.
No. I do not succeed.
So you look up and down it. You don't think there's anything to find. It's fairly easy to look up and down the mummy. You can see its hands, its whole. It's just there.
Yeah.
There are no rings on it. You're not sure. You don't think there's anything hidden either.
Okay. In that case, I'm going to turn to the canonic jars again and pick one up and have a really good look at it.
Okay.
And maybe even I'll open it as well.
Okay. So
See if there's stuff in it.
you pick up one of the canopic jars,
Mhm.
have a look around it, and open it up. And rightly enough, inside there are some desiccated organs of a mummy.
Mhm.
It's got hieroglyphs on.
Yep.
The head of an Egyptian god, maybe. You're unsure. You're not a professor.
Mhm.
Looking around it, there's also something written on the bottom.
Is that in Arabic?
You can have an education roll.
Or an eyesight roll?
Hmm.
Yeah, that's a hard success.
You think it is in Arabic, but it's not a modern Arabic, and it has been scratched in to the bottom of the jar.
I'm going to take it and go to find Jessica
Okay,
and hopefully for to translate that.
no problem. So you take that with you, which leads you off towards Jessica, the parlour, and you approach the library where Rupert and Bevan are poring over a letter. You, on your way there, do hear Dowling shout for Farouk, but you're basically at the library now anyway, by the time you hear that. Which leaves us with Farouk and Mason. You enter the kitchen and Mason starts to look around for the smelling salts and brandy.
While he does that, I'm going to go and wash the blood off my hands from the knife.
Okay. So you start cleaning yourself up, washing the blood off your hands. He's looking into the cupboards, trying to find the medical first aid kit and the smelling salts. You can see the decanter of brandy on the sideboard in a crystal decanter. He pours some and takes a sip, and then pours another one and offers it to you. And says, I can't find the smelling salts. Just give me 1 second, he says, and goes through one of the doors that leads out of the kitchen. Now, the kitchen is large, it's well appointed. Dominating the center of it is a large wooden kitchen table. The kitchen table is festooned with chopping boards and knives and cleavers. Above it hang skillets and pots and pans. There are several empty bottles of vintage champagne that you recognize. And there's a large auger stove with a stove top, and he goes through into what you see looks like a scullery to go and have a look for the smelling salts. What would you like to do?
I'll probably join him in the scullery and see if I can help find those smelling salts. Because
Okay. Please make a spot hidden roll.
Hey, hard.
Okay. But you and he have looked in here for quite a while. They're not in here, and you actually remember seeing them in one of the cupboards that he opened in the kitchen.
Ah, okay.
He must have been
Just
he
rushing.
must have been rushing and panicked.
Yeah.
From the events.
Sure, I'll go grab them and then I'll hurry back into the parlour to find Jessica.
Okay. So you go into the kitchen, leaving him in the scullery to grab them. Meanwhile, what's happening in the parlour and the library?
I'm going to start looking for Farouk.
Okay.
Calling out for him. And
I think he went to the kitchen with Mason.
right, I'll head towards the kitchen.
Okay. So you leave the library with the letter. What do Gertrude and Bevan do?
I'm going to go and see if Jessica's awake, if she's come around.
Yeah.
And if not, I will probably give her some slaps on the hand.
Okay. All the well-established medical help Gently tap her wrist, bring some colour back to her cheek. You can have another first aid roll.
Can I assist Gertrude with the first aid?
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
No need. We've got a hard.
Oh, okay. So you do all of the well-recognised techniques for bringing somebody out of a vexing faint. However, none of them work, and you know they should have. She does not come round.
Mr. Bevan, do you think we could move her into the library? I think perhaps we should all be together in the library.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah,
I'll give you a
like the
hand.
idea of being alone. It's all been very strange.
And Lucy's walking down the marbled corridor away from the library. Farouk picks the smelling salts out of the cupboard. Are you letting Mason know that you have them?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. And Howard and Bevan move Jessica into the library. Where are you going to put her in the library?
Is there I'll put her on the chaise lounge.
That's in the parlour.
Oh, well, that's either on the floor or in a chair.
She has a chair behind her desk.
There we go.
Okay. So she's in the
We
chair
can
Can't we
Tony
dramatically
style.
sweep everything off the desk and put her on the desk?
Sure.
She's now on the desk, comfortably, with a little pillow under her head, probably.
Yep.
While you're doing that, and Farouk is grabbing hold of the smelling salts, did you say you were letting Mason know you've got them?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so you pull them down. Lucy, you're walking down the corridor. Lucy, you can make a listen roll. Gertrude and everyone can make a listen roll except Basar, who does not need to make a listen roll.
Woo! Extreme. Sorry.
Yeah, extreme.
Okay. Those of you who got an extreme roll, and those of you who are Farouk Basar, hear a man's scream. Ah! Which is cut short, coming from the scullery, Basar.
Does it sound like Mason?
Yes.
Okay.
Although you've never heard Mason scream before, you're making a guess, but yes.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. I will. Yeah. Run into the scullery.
Okay.
I guess.
What's Dowling doing?
Farouk, I need you to read this. It has to do with the curse. You chase after it.
He's a long way away. You're in the corridor near the reception room. You're running down towards where he was, where you thought he went,
Yep.
the kitchen, but you're nowhere near there yet.
Yep.
Are you continue to run?
Yep.
Yep. So you race towards where you heard the scream, and Farouk, you burst into the scullery. Gertrude, you heard it. What are you doing?
I am staying with Jessica. I'm not running around this house like a deranged teenager. Continue just patting Jessica's hand and look around the library.
Bevan?
I didn't hear anything, so I'll just keep looking at Jessica, seeing if she's coming around or.
She's definitely not coming around, and all administrations of Gertrude Howard, she's done her very best, and she's not coming around. And as you burst into the scullery, it's at this point that I'll get everybody to make a power roll, please.
Oh, 99.
That's a pass.
Nope.
Nope. Passes. Okay, so you all feel another wave of nausea. It washes over you. Your heart pounds. Your head throbs from rushing blood. Your mouth feels dry, and you all feel nauseous. There's a cold wind once again where there is no wind, and you have to steady yourself for a moment. Farouk, you feel it so badly that you steady yourself on the door frame to the scullery. If you failed your power roll, lose 5 points of power. If you passed it, don't lose any, but you still feel the effects. And at the door, as you steady yourself, feeling this horrible nausea, Farouk, you hear the scream of Mason cut short as, pulling into view, stood in the scullery with Mason bent over one of the sideboards, its hands wrapped around his neck, is a mummy It has blood dripping from its face, and it moans "Nah," as it squeezes Mason's neck, and then there's a horrible snap.
Wow. Okay.
Please make a sanity roll.
Yep. Oh, fine. I don't actually care.
You lose 1 point of sanity as this horrific scene is displayed in front of you. The mummy drops Mason's body onto the floor. Thump.
I'm out.
It turns to you as you turn.
Running.
And you run. Okay, so we'll go in dexterity order. What are you doing, darling? You're racing down the corridor now. You're heading towards the kitchen.
Yep.
And as you're racing down the passageway towards the kitchen, Farouk bursts out of the doorway, racing towards you.
All right, I'm going to say, we have a letter that has to do with the curse. And
Mummy!
Wait.
Mummy's alive!
Ah! To the study! Oh, run back to the study, making sure that Farouk comes with me.
Okay, so you turn on your heels, race back up the passageway towards the main marble corridor. Farouk, hot on your heels, holding the letter up high, with Farouk proclaiming "the mummy," and you race off away from the kitchen. So that said, Rupert and Gertrude, please do listen rolls to see if you can hear this distant furore.
Yes, normal success.
But Bevan's
deaf. Like,
my skill is literally 20, so.
Oh wow! Okay.
No, that's fair. Yeah.
Fair enough.
So Howard, you don't know what they're saying with a normal success, but you can hear two voices, the running footfalls of two people coming up the main corridor towards the library. Some mumbled yelps and screams as they yell at each other, running towards you. Mm-hmm. And then they both appear at the library door. Over to you.
Okay. Well, I'll go through the library door, make sure Lucy is also through the library door, and close the library door.
Okay. You shut both of them.
And I'll look around to see if there's something that kind of can.
Enough! Just read the letter.
Okay.
Read the letter.
All right.
What is going on, Professor? What's happening?
The mummy is alive. It just killed Mason.
The what in the way now?
In the brandy.
I wish I could say that was the case. I really do, but I saw it with my own eyes, and I don't believe it myself. But still, I saw what I saw.
Curse is moving faster than anyone would expect.
Jessica said something about the letter. The letter was right.
Okay.
It's at this point I would like to get you all to make a power roll, please.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Extreme.
No.
Extreme power.
I failed.
So you all feel nauseous again. It affects everybody. The blood, your heart pounds, the blood rushes through your head, your mouth feels dry, you feel a wave of nausea. You all notice this happening to your friends in the same room. You can see dark rings appearing under the eyes of everybody nearby. And in fact, your skin begins to feel paper thin and drawn across your skull. You feel the nausea come on and leave you moments later. If you have succeeded your power roll, lose no power. If you failed, lose 5 points of power.
Done.
It comes and goes rather quickly.
Dr. Nassar, can you translate that letter for us?
I don't know what good it will do, but of course. I have 93 in Arabic.
On of this canopic jar.
Which you still have, of course. So it's easy to read. There's no need for a roll. This is your language.
Yep.
And it says, do you want to read it out loud or do you want to?
Yeah, I'll read it out loud.
You want to tell everybody? Okay. So it says, "The dead shall stay dead. The past is the past, for we are the present and the future. We consume what once was to protect ourselves from what should not be."
Okay.
And the bottom of the jar?
The bottom of the jar will require a roll. It's old and has been scratched in and is worn.
Arabic?
It's in Arabic, but it's in a much older Arabic.
Yep, no worries. A hard success.
A hard success gives you that it appears to be something that says something along the lines of fry and consume while chanting.
Ooh.
Does that mean what I think it means?
I've heard of people taking dried mummy for their health, but to fry up an organ?
You've heard of people taking dried mummy for their health?
Yes, the Victorians.
Yes, well, I suppose that is a form of corpse medicine.
Look,
It's delightful.
I've seen a mummy running around, like, alive, moving when it definitely shouldn't.
And the screen.
Can I have a look at the map to try and work out how the mummy got into the scullery without passing us?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you can have a spot hidden.
Gertrude, were there more of those jars?
Yes, there are 4 in total.
Do you think maybe we should get them?
Absolutely.
Hard success.
But let's just look at the map first.
Okay.
Yeah, look, I think I'm going to go and get the jars.
Okay.
Okay. If you can't get back here, then should we meet you? We should get into the kitchen, shouldn't we? And fry off. Either remain.
Yeah.
Sorry?
I'm just going to come back here once I get them.
Okay.
Won't be long. It's not far.
Just through this door, right?
Yeah.
Where the mummy was.
Well, yeah, you come out. Okay, so Bevan leaves the library, goes down the corridor, and goes towards the reception room. So while that's happening, you're studying the map, Dowling. What's Farouk doing? Bevan, you're basically at the reception room now. We'll deal with that in a second. Farouk, what are you doing while he's gone and Lucy's studying the map?
I'm going to see if I can find something that can be used as a weapon.
Okay, so you reach over to one of the fireplace and pull a long iron fire poker that's got a little, and hold that. Yep. Gertrude?
I am going to rip one of the curtains off the rail.
Okay, so you
Because in true Scooby-Doo fashion, we're going to drop the curtain on the mummy and wrap it.
Cool. All right, so you start yanking at one of the curtains, and it slowly but surely comes off its rings, and you drop down onto the floor. You have a large red velvet curtain in your hand now. Lucy, you're making a spot hidden for me. How did you go?
Yep, hard success.
Hard success. Farouk has in his hand a fire poker, and Rupert enters the reception room where the roaring flames are still in the fireplace. The 3 remaining canopic jars are on the sideboard. The Hewitt's body lies on the floor in a pool of blood where it was. The blood drips from the table, and the mummy is no longer on it. And it's at that point, Bevan,
Not crazy,
that you hear a door open behind you, and you're stood at the canopic jars picking them up. There's 3 of them, and as that door behind you opens somewhere near the fireplace, you hear
A cow? In the house? These rich people really are eccentric.
What would you like to do?
Well, I mean, have a look at this, where the sound came from.
You turn around with the canopic jars in your arms and look towards the fireplace. To one side of the fireplace, the wooden panel wall has opened and revealed a secret passage. Emerging from that secret passage is the blood-soaked visage of the mummy. Ah, it proclaims, taking steps towards you. Please make a sanity roll.
Yeah, that's fine.
Cool and normal.
Only lose 1 point of sanity. The mummy, however, although covered in blood, seems to have revivified to some extent. Its hands no longer skeletal and bony, but fleshed out. Its face becoming almost as if it is that of an older looking Jessica Pemberley. However, many parts of the flesh are still missing. It has even started to grow hair, and it stumbles in true cinematic mummy form, foot after foot, towards you. What do you do?
I want to try and run past it to the door that I came out of.
Yeah.
But I also want to give it a bit of a kick on the way past.
Okay. So what you can try and damage it with a fighting brawl. Or
I just want to push it back.
You just want to push it. So that'd be a maneuver, fighting brawl maneuver. And as you kick it, it's going to make a swipe for you, okay? You've got your charge, you're trying to get past it, you're going to kick it, it's going to make a swipe. And then we'll come to that in a second. Dowling, your hard success, you have a look round and you spot what looks to be a secret passage leading from reception to the scullery. And you got a hard success, didn't you?
Yep.
Scanning the map, you actually look like they've built a couple of secret passages into Pemberley Grange when it was originally constructed. There's another one going from the parlour to the drawing room. Now, how did you go, Bevan?
Yeah, I haven't rolled, I'll do it now.
Okay.
96.
Oh, that's not great, is it? Okay, so you lash out at it with a kick. You kick a chair. You get your foot caught in the gap behind the chair, and you push past the mummy because it also misses, and in true Scooby-Doo style, goes to grab you, but misses as you run out into the corridor with 3 canopic jars and a dining chair on your leg, hobbling your way up the corridor towards the library, making a noise.
Help! Help!
Behind you, you hear more.
Yourself.
Do we need to do a listen roll to hear that, or
no? He's shouting. He's in the corridor. He's not far from the library. You hear him coming.
I'm going to run
Don't hear
down.
the moan, however. But we'll go on to dexterity. What does Lucy do?
I'll tell everyone there's secret passages, and I'll tell them from the revealing room to the scullery. That's how the mummy's moved, and then there's another one in between here and the parlour.
Okay, so you've been doing that. You inform everybody of that. The next person is Farouk Bassar. What do you do?
I'm going to run down and towards Bevan. And
all right, you're out in the corridor. You skid out into the corridor from the library. You can see Bevan racing towards you, dining chair on his leg, canopic jams in his arms, hobbling along as best as he can, and you kind of meet him at the library.
Right.
What does Gertrude do?
Gertrude's going to grab the 4th canopic jar and run to the kitchen.
Okay, so you pass. What's your movement?
Oh, pretty low, I think.
Your movement rate?
I've forgotten where it is. Hold on.
just under power.
Your stats.
Oh yeah, it's 5. Big fun.
So 5 is low. So running is probably generous for what you're doing at the moment.
Trot.
You trot.
Matronly fashion.
Yeah, trotting and matronly. It's very socially appropriate.
Perhaps not circumstantially.
You're out in the corridor. Rupert and Farouk and Gertrude are kind of outside the library in the corridor now, and Gertrude is going to go. She's basically heading from where you came, Rupert.
I'm going there.
Hmm?
Please go to the kitchen. Fry off these bits. Awful bits.
Rupert,
Yeah, someone grab one of these jars.
Okay, I'll grab one of the jars of Bevan.
so you've got a jar, Bevan's got 2 jars, Gertrude's got 1 jar. What's Lucy doing? Back to Lucy again. They're all outside the
Guys,
library.
what happened to all staying together? And I'm going to hook my arms up underneath Jessica and drag her off the table and start.
Please make a strength roll.
No.
No, okay, you try and take her off the table. She's a bit too heavy for you. Bump, she's now on the floor. You've got your arms underneath and you're trying to hold her up. And
No, can I just, I'll just try and drag her.
Okay, under
Just
the
drag.
arms, dragging her along towards, you're still in the library, dragging her towards the room when you need to all make a power roll.
Oh, good.
No.
Oh, no. I haven't succeeded one yet.
Stepping out of the reception into the main hall, into the main corridor, 20, 30 feet away from where you've just come, Bevan, you all see the mummy. No. Lose 5 points of power as another wave of nausea washes over you if you failed your power. If you don't fail it, lose none. You can all see physical changes in the people around you, their skin drawn, their eyes black, their fingers becoming old, aged and bony. There's a dry taste in your mouth. In fact, one of your teeth feels a little bit loose. And the mummy in the corridor, which is making its way towards you, looks like it's revivifying in front of your eyes. It is growing more fleshy and alive as it walks towards you.
You monster, that's my goodness.
Those of you who've not seen the mummy, make a sanity roll for Rook and Gertrude. Not you, Dowling. You're luckily still in the library.
I've seen
That's made it.
I've seen the mummy before.
Oh, you have seen it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm so excited. 1 point of sanity, Gertrude. Great. You are gathered outside the library. Lucy is inside the library with Jessica dragging her along the floor. You have canopic jars in your hands. Rupert shakes off the dining table chair. What do? We'll go to Lucy first. That's on dexterity 80.
I'm going to keep trying to drag. Oh, can I hear the mummy coming down the
You
corridor?
can make a listen roll.
That's a hard.
That's a hard. You do. You hear the moaning. What it is, well, that's up to you. Yes, there's a moaning. Whoa.
All right, so I'm probably not going to go out into the corridor. I'm going to drag, I've forgotten her name already. Jessica, I'm going to drag Jessica sort of into a corner out of view from the door and just wait for whatever is going to pass to pass.
Okay. So you drag her out of the way and hide with her, with Jessica.
Oh, can I stealth?
Yes, you can. You can do a stealth roll. I'm going to ask you to get a hard because you're dragging Jessica.
Oh, well, 4, so that's extreme.
Okay, nobody knows where Lucy's gone and Jessica, and you are now hidden in a corner. Farouk comes next.
Just keep. Is he like just coming straight at us?
Coming straight at you down the main corridor towards the library.
Does Gertrude have the curtain?
Yeah, got a curtain.
Yeah.
I need some help with that though.
Yeah, I was going to say I might go and like grab part of the curtain from Gertrude and kind of spread it out in preparation to try and net the zombie.
Okay. So you are both holding this curtain now.
What are they doing?
Evan.
Canopic jar under my arm.
Yeah.
Good
Kurt,
Lord,
you
this is a
wanna-
strange day. I mean, what are you planning to do with the curtain?
Well, use it like a net.
I don't actually want to know. Surprise me. Let's just see what happens.
And the mummy is
We're trying to get to the kitchen. What are we doing?
advancing up the corridor and will be on you next round. So Bevan, you have 1 round to act before the mummy is in front of you 3. What do you want to do?
I'm going to get as far away from the mummy and as close to the kitchen as possible in a round.
All right. So the mummy is in between you and the kitchen.
Can
I
we?
want to get as far away from the mummy as possible.
You can go back into the library.
Yep, sure. Let's do that. Let's go back into the library.
Yep. Okay. You might also be able to duck into the drawing room if you're fast enough. But that would require a dexterity roll.
Can we?
Hang on a second. That would require a dexterity roll.
Yeah, no, I don't think I'll go for that. My dex is not great.
All right. Sorry, Gertrude.
Sorry, I say, Bazaar, can we wrap the mummy up and lock it, push it into another room and lock it in a room that doesn't have secret passages and things?
That would be a good idea.
All right. So Bevan goes back into the library.
Mhm.
That is about as far away from the mummy as you can get. You can't see Lucy and Jessica anymore. They've gone. Where
Impressive.
are they? Nobody knows. And it's at the next round that the mummy will be upon Gertrude and Bassar.
We can do this.
Before that happens, what does Dowling do? You can hear the moaning of the mummy outside now, Dowling.
I might just hold my action for now to stay hidden.
Yeah, and the mummy marches up towards you all, is now in front of Farouk and Bassar. Everybody make a power roll.
Nope.
Yes.
If you've made it, you don't lose any power. If you fail that, you lose 5 points of power as the mummy approaches. You feel your life force leaving your body. Your head pounds with blood. Your mouth is dry. A tooth drops out of your mouth. You can feel your hair start to fall out, and you are now faced with an almost fully revivified Jessica Pemberley mummy. It's trying to say something as it lurches towards you. It's now even grown at a silver age of cinema, Cleopatra Black Bob. What do Bassar and Howard do?
Wrap the curtain over the mummy, tangle it up, and push it into one of the small rooms off to the side and lock it in there.
Okay, so there's a room off to the left, which you can push it into.
Yep.
All right, so that's going to be a brawling maneuver. Because there's 2 of you, you'll get advantage. In
What's your
response,
brawl?
it's going to try and grab one of you and strangle you. So that's what its response is.
Grass.
So who wants to make the roll?
Probably Bassar.
I'm 35.
Yep.
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 Okay, cool.
With advantage? Anything?
Yeah. So it's 42 or 42.
You've got luck.
Luck.
Can you use luck on a fighting roll?
It's a skill
Yeah.
roll. You can, yeah.
Beautiful. Then I'm using the heck out of that luck.
That's probably a good thing.
Yeah. So that's seven luck to get a success on that one.
Okay, so you wrap the mummy in this velvet curtain. Gertrude kicks one of the doors open and Farouk pushes it into a room. You're not sure which one it is because you've not studied the map.
Nope.
We're going to lock the door up behind us.
It is wrapped up, moaning inside this curtain. You push it inside the room. And you shut the door,
And run to the kitchen.
and that's your turn. Lucy, you were holding. What do you want to do?
Yes. Do I hear the moaning suddenly?
Oh, yes. You hear
Yes.
it goes from ma to
I'm going to jump up from behind the table, possibly scaring Rupert.
Ah!
I'm going to leave Jessica there and I'm going to be like, to the kitchen, man! And I'm going to run out and grab him on the way.
Bevan, do you want to comply with this?
Yep. Let's get to the kitchen. Let's get away from this mummy.
All right. So you are all four of you together racing down the marbled corridor. You are at the bottom of the marble corridor. You pass by the reception room where this all began. You all glimpse Hewitt's body on the floor in the reception. You turn left down the corridor, the passageway, which is in the servants' wing towards the kitchen, and you are racing towards the kitchen. You get to the kitchen, and you burst into the kitchen. The kitchen, as was the large dining table, the sideboard, the decanter of brandy which was left there, the pots and pans and skillets and knives, and the large oven with the cast iron stove top.
Right.
So it's taking you a few minutes to run down there. What happens when you get there?
I'm going to yell out, barricade that scullery, barricade the doors, get the oil on the stove, we're having a cook-up. Get that chant going, man.
Flash of brandy in it as well if we have to eat this.
Absolutely, I'm going to flambe the shit out of that.
The old-fashioned fry-up.
So who's doing what?
I'll help barricade and guard the doors.
I will barricade.
Okay, so what?
I'll start frying.
Where do you start, Bevan? Where do you barricade?
I'll do the main door to the kitchen.
And how are you doing that?
Is there like a, is there anything I can push up against it, or?
There's a large kitchen table.
Let's do that.
Okay, so you upend a large kitchen table. It's quite large. You probably need a bit of help with that.
Yeah, Farouk, give us a hand with this table.
Yep, sure. I'm just going to read that letter again.
Okay.
And just see what it said, because it said it had to be chanted at the same time. But
The
was it as
the letter says, for your protection, HC.
It was on the canopic jar, wasn't it? That had the instructions. Fry.
Who's read the canopic jar? That is you, isn't it, Farouk?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you got a hard success for that.
Yes.
Canopic jar says something along the lines of to be fried and eaten while chanting the warding.
Well, okay. So we've got to be chanting right now, because it says to be fried and I would assume it is the thing in the letter.
I will drop that thing in the letter into chat for you all.
Great.
There it is. You should all be able to see that right now.
Right. Now, I'll chant it in as close to the original Arabic as I can get.
Yeah. That shouldn't be hard for you now you've translated it.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
won't be hard at all for you.
Well, this one's from the letter, right? So this is actually modern Arabic.
That's from the letter, and that's actually
my language.
Modern. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bevan, you need a strength roll because Farouk's not really helping with the table.
He's not helping with the table.
Yes, that is a hard.
All right, so you've upended it, dragged it across the stone floor of the kitchen and placed it in front of the kitchen door. Farouk, you've been going through the letter, racking your brains about what was on the canopic jars, and you're starting to say this in Arabic. While Bevan's doing that, what is Lucy doing?
With the fry pan and stuff, and helping Gertrude, just dumping the canopic jars out into the fry pan and splashing brandy over it.
Okay.
So flambe.
You turn the stove top on. There's one of those large cast iron rings with a dangerously large fire and a cast iron skillet, and and Lucy tips out the contents of one and then another canopic jar into the red hot skillet. The room is filled with a noxious, horrible smell. It enters all of your noses, and you need to all make a power roll.
I knew you were going to say power roll. No. I failed.
So those that fail lose 5 points of power. What a roller coaster this is. Those that make it don't lose any. and you all start to feel this wave of nausea, and it is dragging you down now. In fact, as you look, you glance over at Dowling, Howard, and Howard glances at you as it comes on you. Bevan looks over at Bessar, and Bessar catches Bevan's eye, and you can see an aging effect happening in your faces. Your skin is drawn, your teeth are starting to fall out, your hair's coming out, you feel ill and old and nauseous, and you can see the reflection of this horror in your friends' eyes as they watch you age in front of them and realize that this is happening to you as well. Please make sanity rolls.
Oh gosh, come on.
Nope.
Yeah, this is no longer cool or normal.
No.
So who made it?
Me.
Lose 1 point of sanity. If you have failed it, Farouk loses 2. Bevan 6. Dowling 3.
That's 5 for the session.
It's 5 in 1 hit or 20% for the session.
Yep, 5 in 1 hit.
10% for session.
Please make an intelligence test, Bevan.
Oh, glad I'm right now. Yep, past that.
Okay, so with having lost 5 in 1 hit, you're going to go temporarily insane. Reality cracks and comes crashing down around you. I'm just going to leave you for a second just to have a think about what you think, how you think Bevan would react to reality crumbling around you as you smell these noxious fumes from the fried, desiccated mummy organs, the chanting of Farouk Bessar behind you in Arabic, the rushed noise, the barricading, and everything that's happened. So you have a think about that, and we'll come back to you in a second, and we'll deal with that. While that's happening, it's going to take a little bit, not long, but a little bit of time for the skillet to heat up and for the organs to fry. Brandy goes on, whoosh, up goes the flame, makes it smell a little bit better, but you're all feeling sick and nauseous and old. What does Dowling do?
I'm going to listen very carefully to Farouk and try and repeat the chant.
Okay, you will need a hard education roll to repeat what he's saying because he's doing it in Arabic.
I mean...
Oh, I missed it by 3.
Okay, so you are repeating what he's saying exactly as far as you're concerned. And Gertrude, sorry, it's now Bessar. What are you doing?
It occurs to me that it doesn't need to be in Arabic because that wasn't necessarily the original language that it was written in. So I'll switch to chanting it in English.
Okay. That makes things a lot easier, Dowling. A lot easier.
Yeah.
I know.
Because as Dowling starts butchering it in Arabic, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, wait, that's not. Ooh, okay. Yeah, and so I will start translating it into English and chanting it as English.
All right. So you start picking up on that, Dowling, and while Bessar's doing that, you continue to do that. What's Howard doing?
If Dowling is looking after the frying, then she'll go in and close the scullery door and lock that and try and barricade that up. Because it looks like Bevan's stalled there for some reason.
All right, so you go over, you leave the stove and let Dowling do what Dowling does, and you go over to, there's a sideboard next to that if you want to drag it in front of the door.
Yep, I'll give it a go.
You need a strength roll.
No, I am feeble.
So you've got hold of it and you've dragged it, and it has made an awful screeching noise as it's pulled across the stone kitchen floor. You pulled it a little bit, and it now, because the stone floor is not even, there's a small lip, one of the legs, it's caught on one of them, you're trying to lift it over, and it's not working yet. Now, what does Bevan do?
Of course. It makes perfect sense. None of this is real. It's a dream. I'm going to take out my gun.
Yeah.
and I'm going to drop all of the bullets out that are currently in it, and then I'm going to take the one out of my pocket, put it into the gun, give it a bit of a spin. Click.
Wow, okay. All right, I will roll a number. Are you ready?
Yep.
Pick a number.
Between
1 and 6.
1 and 6.
Ooh, 4.
Okay, click. Bevan stands with his gun going click. Nothing happens.
Oh my god.
Make listen rolls, everybody.
Oh my god.
I just need to wake up. This is the quickest way.
Oh, no. Was that a listen roll, Alan?
Just the equivalent of being pinched.
Yeah.
Listen roll, yeah.
Yeah, that failed.
Odd.
All right. So who got a success there?
Yeah, normal success.
Normal success. So you're frying these things, Dowling. You're at the the stove. Gertrude got hold of the sideboard and is dragging it towards the door at the scullery. Farouk is chanting, Lucy's chanting, and you hear from inside the scullery, Gertrude.
Shit. Quick!
And I will go and help.
You go over to help barricade. Lucy, what do you do?
Is this cooked yet?
Not yet.
I'm gonna turn up the heat. Try and cook
Okay.
it faster.
You turn up the heat, the flames go
Scream
up,
it.
more brandy.
I scream at Rupert. I'm like, why don't you just try pinching yourself, man, if you think you're sleeping?
I was going to tackle Rupert, but then the mummy came.
I'm gonna start chanting as well.
So Lucy's still frying this stuff up. Next is Bassar. The mummy is in the scullery and he's coming into the room. What do you want to do, Bassar?
Yeah, help Gertrude dragging
All right.
that
So
sideboard.
you two can
Cable,
have an
whatever.
assisted strength roll to pull that in front of the doorway.
Great.
What's your strength?
55.
Yeah, same. So off you go. Give me.
Okay, sure. And that's advantage?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, 14.
Okay.
extreme.
And you lift it
hard,
over the
sorry.
lid, you drag it in front of the door, and from behind the door, there's an almighty nah bang on the door from the mummy. That's you two done. Bevan, pick a number.
3.
Click. Dowling. Oh, everybody make a power roll. Sorry.
Oh, God. No. No, I did not succeed.
Lose 5 points of power. If you failed, you are all feeling nauseous and sick. Your life force is being drawn out of you. You can feel it being pulled on your chest and your faces. You have all become aged versions of yourselves. Your fingers and hands look bony and skeletal, and you can feel your hair coming out. And there's this horrible nauseous feeling, noxious fumes in the room, the banging of the mummy on the door. Dowling, it's ready.
It's ready. I'm gonna grab a bite of one,
Yeah.
stick the tongue or the fork into it, take a bite.
You scoop, so you fork some up, you take hold
Yep.
of some of the cooked mummy organs, you place it in your mouth, make a sanity roll.
Sorry, I'm a little bit.
This is fine. This is nothing compared to everything else that's happened today.
Lose 1 point of sanity. Please let me know if you're anywhere near your 20% yet.
No.
And with great
Close,
difficulty, you swallow some of the mummy's fried organs. Farouk, there's a banging at the scullery door. Boom!
I'm gonna grab some of those sweet cooked organs. Continuing
Okay, you
my
move away from the
chanting.
door, you go and grab some of the organs, you make a sanity roll.
Fine. Success.
Really fine.
Fine. Okay, just 1 point of sanity.
Cool.
And you consume some. What are you doing while you eat it?
I'll attempt to chant.
Okay, so you continue the chant while you eat it.
Mhm.
Gertrude is next.
I'm gonna grab some of the organs and eat and chant while I'm pushing up against the scullery door.
Okay, bang on the scullery door.
What a look.
So tasty.
Make a sanity roll.
The dead shall stay dead. Oh, yeah, totally fine.
Lose 1
it's
point.
Nothing to what happens in society dinners.
Yeah,
It's
these are
fine.
cult meetings that your society have. Who knows what they're up to? 1 point lost there.
Yeah.
Bevan, pick a number.
2.
Click. And then the mummy bangs on the door. Gertrude, strength roll. It will want to be quite good.
Oh, it is not good. I am enfeebled.
And Gertrude is pushed forward from the door. The door opens. In stumbles the mummy. Ah! Bevan, make a power roll.
Nope.
Nope. Everybody else is fine. The wave of nausea does not wash over you this time as you swallow the mummy's organs and chant the warding, the dead shall stay dead. The mummy smashes its way into the room, almost completely revivified. Rupert feels sick. You drop to one knee, the gun drops onto the floor. This is quite real now, and you snap out of it. The mummy is in the room and is stumbling towards Howard.
Eat the organs, Rupert.
I'm gonna
Eat it.
throw.
What does Dowling do?
I'm gonna throw one of the organs to Bevan.
Okay,
Like, eat
make
this!
a throw roll. Make a throw roll.
You sure you don't want to just like take a couple of steps and give it to him?
Oh no! Oh, how big is the kitchen?
It's done now.
If he's close enough,
It's done now.
well then, if it's a small
Throw
kitchen,
roll.
should I get an advantage on the throw roll?
Sure.
Where is throw? Well, I passed that one. Yeah, just a normal success.
Some mummy's organ flies through the air, coming over towards you, Rupert. Make a dexterity to catch it.
Yes.
And you catch it in your hand, but you go quite down the line of dexterities. The mummy is making its inexorable way towards Gertrude Howard to try and grab hold of her. What does Bassar do?
I will try and tackle the mummy.
Okay, you try and tackle the mummy. In return, it is going to try and grab hold of you.
Fair enough. Fighting brawl.
Fighting brawl, you're the instigator and win ties. I have a hard success.
Oh dang! I'm gonna. Can I use luck?
Yes.
I do not have enough luck to make this work. I have a normal success, but it is
Okay,
not.
it's got a hard. So you run in to tackle it. You hit it. It doesn't budge. You are now, however, in the way of it and Gertrude. So it turns its attention on you, and it reaches down and it grabs you round the neck, pulls you up onto your tiptoes and squeezes.
Uh-oh.
It does a total of 6 points of damage.
I'm fine.
Is that more than half?
Yes.
Please make a constitution roll.
Okay. Oh. Hard success.
You do not pass out.
Yes.
It lifts you up and you are staring into the eyes of an almost fully revivified Jessica Pemberley. The only difference between her and the mummy is there is no nose. Anybody? No? And it squeezes and lifts you up and moans, ah. Lastly but not least, Rupert Bevan, what do you do?
I'm gonna eat the mummy organs
And
chant at the same time.
as you place it in your mouth, the kitchen is filled with the chanting of Howard, Dowling and Bevan. Bassar chokes it through as he's strangled by the mummy. And at the very last moment, just before it kills you, it turns to dust. Dropping you onto one knee, Bassar. And that is the Mummy of Pemberley Grange. Thank you very much for playing.
Wow.
I cannot believe we survived that.
I cannot believe it either. It was
Me
magnificent.
especially?
Well done.
Me specifically, because I'm on power 10 now, and
Now-
4 hit points.
Thank you very much for playing. Thank you very much everybody for watching as well. That was a heap of fun to run. I'm Alan Carey from a company called Type 40 here in Melbourne, and we are writing a whole range of these Seeds of Terror that can be played in a single evening with 4 friends. You can check out Drive Through Roleplay and watch out for our Patreon, and I'm sure there will be links after the video for you to have a look at. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for playing, guys. I'm glad you made it through the Mummy.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody.